I make horror movies, and I'm always looking for ways to up my production value and make my films look better. And so I'd been following Immortal Masks for quite some time. Their Instagram is awesome, and they just seem to make a very cool product. So a while back, I was actually given the opportunity to take a tour of Immortal Masks and see what they do there, and it was pretty awesome. So as you walk in the doors of Immortal Masks, you're gonna see the showroom. So it's a couple desks, logo on the wall, but then you're gonna notice the wall covered in masks. And these masks are pretty crazy once you get to see them up close. You know, I've seen these masks online and on their Instagram, but it's kind of different in person. You can see each pore, you can see like veins under the skin, you can see each individual hair and follicle. I don't know how they do it. And it's pretty cool. Walking down the hallway, you'll find the break room, also full of masks and different art pieces, a few offices, and eventually the sculpting room. This is the birthplace of most of the masks. This is where ideas, sketches, and sculpts first happen. So step one of the process of making one of these masks happens in the sketch room, where they sketch out and draw and plan what could be next, what a possible new mask could look like, and then it goes over to the sculpting phase. I got to talk with Andrew Freeman a bit, a guy with a ton of experience, a ton of talent, and the man behind a ton of the ideas at Immortal Masks. So this is a sculpt that will become a mold?
Yeah. So all the clay, we heat up in this convection oven right here, so it warms it up and gets it real malleable. And then we're able to smear it on there into the major forms, and then using a series of like tools, even like a cat brush, we can kind of create some of this skin texture. I like using these things to kind of go and pop some pore texture on there.
Yeah.
It makes it go a lot quicker than sitting there and tapping each individual pore. And here's one that Micah just finished.
Is this like a new one coming up, or is this a resculpt?
This is a new one, yeah. This one's called Scorn. So it's a really cool, like demonic. It could be demon, could be ghost. I feel like it kind of teeters on the edge of both realms.
After everything is good to go with the head sculpt, a mold can be made. You open a door and you're immediately greeted by a large warehouse that was way bigger than I expected. I was honestly blown away by the size of the Immortal Mask location, but it all seemed necessary and put to good use.
So this is one of the newest sculpts. So now I just gotta dig out all the clay, put a pore spout in it so they can start running silicone.
They've got a whole section dedicated just to storing molds. There's a ton of molds because they've got such a huge selection. So when somebody orders a mask, they gotta go into this area, find the mold that was ordered, clean it up, and take it over to the pouring department. In the pouring department, they mix the silicone together, they tint it, they get rid of any air bubbles that might be trapped inside of it, and then they pour it into the mold. But before you pour it, you've actually got to put some kind of core inside of the mold so that it can actually go over someone's head and it's not just a solid block of silicone. So there's a human-shaped bust core inside, and then they put a mesh layer over that, and that prevents tears and prevents rips in the mask and keeps it all structurally sound. Once the pour is set and dried, they crack it open and it heads over to the patch department. So when the mask actually comes out of the mold, it's just a plain off-white color. It's got a bunch of seams on the side and imperfections, and it's got a giant pore spout on the top of the head. When it goes to the patch department, the job is to make it look perfect. This department's pretty wild. They're doing mask surgery in here, and each mask leaves looking flawless.
You guys are quick. That would take me a day.
Well, I mean, you get faster as time goes, so.
I feel like I'm watching a surgery video.
When we put our gloves on, it definitely feels like we're surgeons.
That's so cool. That's like one of those like satisfying
Yeah, oddly satisfying.
Oddly satisfying. That's smoothed over so So clean.
After that, it heads on over to the heat room, which is just a room that is extremely hot and makes sure everything is dried as much as possible. The heat room. This is the heat room. This is where they just let stuff cure for a while. It's kind of hot in here. It's actually really hot. It's really warm. Get me out of here. Next up is the paint department, and I only got to catch a couple minutes of these guys painting the masks, but I have no idea how they do it. There's a lot of detail to be put into it, a lot of very small details and specific things, a lot of different colors, and they just mix it all together and it looks good. I don't know. I think they use silicone paint though, because that's the only kind of paint that will stick to silicone. Apparently other types of paint will just rub off. Then off to the finishing department. This is where all of the extras are added onto the mask. Things like teeth, eyes, horns, spikes, pretty much anything that's not silicone. Except for hair. That actually happens in the very, very last department. Again, I know I keep saying this, but the attention to detail is crazy. It's not like the hair is simply glued to the top of the head or glued to the silicone. It's as if each hair has its own follicle and it looks almost like a real person. And that's it. So many steps, so much that could go wrong in the process, so much care put into each step, and everybody at Immortal was super passionate and super focused, and it was a really cool thing to see.
And what would you tell somebody that is interested in getting into effects or mask making? What's like step one for people?
If you wanted to be someone that does the designing and the sculpting and the painting and the on-set application, I'd say like a knowledge of anatomy is probably the most important thing. I started off as a different career path as an animator, and I was at a young age learning anatomy, and that knowledge translated into this field, and even if I decided to be a tattoo artist or something, it would translate into that field because if a tattoo artist knows really good anatomy, you'll see it in the hands of pinup girls and things like that. If someone's not very good at anatomy, you'll very quickly see where they're faulting. So I'd say the most important thing is learning human animal anatomy, not just learning it, but like drawing it and becoming familiar with it, because then you can translate that into sculpture and design.
And in the end, I even got to try on one of the masks.
You want to try him on them?
Yeah, let's go for that.
For Scarecrow.
Go big.
So the vision on him is a little bit tunneled enough.
All right. Wish me luck. Who is it?
Yeah, it feels tight.
Where do I start? Top of my head?
If you want, yeah. Some people do it that way. Some people do it from the back on.
Okay.
There you go. And there's a mirror right here if you want to take a look. Let me just fix the back here.
How do I look?
It looks great. You do want to take see mouth movement so that.
Oh yeah, you see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's very
This
good.
is very cool.
Because they feel heavy in your hand, but when you actually put them on, the weight is distributed.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Feels kind of natural. This is awesome.
Easier to take it off.
Wow, that was great. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks to Immortal Masks for letting me come out and invade your space, invade your headquarters for a while. It was awesome to meet everybody. It was awesome to see your process and how you do everything. And I can't wait to use an Immortal Mask in one of my future horror films.